Hey, Hans from Request for Music here, and I want to show you a couple of modules that will be added to the FSyn bundle within a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks. It's depending on um, what will be found as problems still in the modules, depending on beta and depending on approval of Cherry. But just let's go over them. I already selected F underscore in my search box here, so I'll show all of the modules, and there's quite a lot of modules in there, and quite a lot of them are already within the bundle. But for instance, FARP is not yet in the bundle, and ARP is an arpeggio module. I'll put it in there, and the arpeggio module has a couple of inputs and a couple of outputs. Of obviously, the input is a normal pitch input that you can use to change what the arpeggio behavior will be. For the rest, there's a reset button, so you can start anew within the arpeggio. You can have it run its playing by using the button here. All of those LEDs are buttons, so you can switch that button on or off, or have the input selected by putting a gate in there, and the gate can then decide. I'm pressing the keyboard at the moment, so you can see that I can actually play or stop that arpeggio at that moment. So I could do it that way. And for the rest, there's a couple of other buttons that I'll discuss later on. And for the rest, there's a tempo, a direction, a chord, a key, and a mode that are, hopefully a bit self-explanatory. That means that the arpeggio is going to run within a specific mode, and those modes are non-Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. So the normal modes that we have in music. For chords, there's a triad, a major triad, the seventh, the +2, the +4, sixth power chord, that's the fifth, the ninth, the 11th, 13th, a dim and an augmented chord that it will step through. And as a direction, we have the upwards, downwards, back and forth, and random modes that we can have. And for keys, there's obviously the C, C sharp, and so on, all of those notes that you can have. And apart from that, there's a gate time that you can set for the outcoming gate from this output here, and the output itself takes the pitch that it is creating in here. And apart from these settings, there is a small keyboard with which you can set the notes that it will decide to play, because it takes one pitch. It normally takes a root, and from that root it will create the notes that you would normally use within a chord. So for the major triad, that would be the 1, the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th of that scale. So let's just hook it on. So I need at least an oscillator. I need a filter, because that's otherwise it's making noise all of the time, and I use an ADSR, and I'll put them a bit together. So I'm taking the output of my ARP into the external input of my VCO. I'm taking the gate into the gate of the ADSR, and the output of that is going into the envelope of the VCF, and the normal input of the VCF is being driven by the output of the VCO, and then I can take my output into my main output. So the tempo is what is it, 120 at the moment, and if I run it, it's just going to run through those notes. It's I'll put it up a bit so you can hear it properly. It's pretty low, of course, at the moment, so I'll put an octave up. I hope that my audio is still audible enough. So it's now at, let's put the tempo down a bit and change the ADSR. And you can hear that the gate time is affecting what it does. So okay, so we have a couple of notes. This is the major triad, as said, and the first thing that I can do is add a note to it, the 12th, the octave note. So if I switch this on, it's going to through those three notes and includes the octave note. So except for that, I'm going through just one octave now, and if I'm going through a second octave, it's going to run through that and going up through the second octave, and if I do the third, it's going all the way up. And obviously this is upwards, and if I do it downwards, and if I do it upwards and downwards, I get something like this. And I could put it at random, and yeah, that's going to almost sounds like sample and hold, but still within a chosen chord. So other chord, and it sometimes it has difficulties getting exactly the note, but there's always a reset button here that will fix any problems that you might encounter. So let's switch it back to back and forth, 2 octaves. And apart from this, you have an input, and it means that I need to switch this on, because it then is going to change what it's doing depending on the note that you're playing on your keyboard. So yeah, that's basically what the arpeggiator does. I'll switch it back in tempo a bit. And actually there's this 4/4, which is actually changing the tempo of whatever it has to put the amount of notes that it uses into sort of a 4/4 kind of schedule. And so that's also something that you can use. Now these dials, the chord, the key, the mode, are actually only used when you don't use this keyboard. As soon as you press a note on this here, it's actually going to, and I might have to reset that again. I'm not quite sure why it's sometimes. I'm still looking for some bugs in there. You see that it's actually running through those notes at the moment. So if I wanted to full chromatic scale, I could actually take all of those notes in there and take them all out. But if I want less, obviously I'll take those notes out. And again, sometimes when that's because of how programming works with arrays and stuff, it can get lost a bit. Just press the reset button and it will be okay again. There's also a reset button below the keyboard itself, which means that you actually take all of the notes of that keyboard out, so it comes back to the setting that is set within this part of the module. Well, so on a large scale, that is what arpeggio does, and obviously there's a lot of ways that you can work with this. You can actually, for instance, the mode can be set from whatever you're doing here. So if I just take these basic notes in the chord, if I would go from the chord into, oh, let's see, if I would go into the Mixolydian mode, there's a difference in how that is being handled. Where is it? Oh. for instance, the mixolydian, or the the aeolian mode is my minor chord. You will hear different notes from this, which is the major scale. So it's taking the scale from those notes, and you can actually modulate that by taking the input here. So yeah, that is the ARP module in itself. Another module that I've actually, both modules or a couple of modules have been around laying here for a couple of months already, because there's just not enough time at some point to do everything you want. So another module that I have planned for approval, and so that will be added to the bundle as well, is a record module. And the record module is this thing here where you can actually have a recording made, recording like sort of a tape loop, because as soon as I had my pause module finished, which could delay any sort of input signal, because it could work with pitch or gate or modulation signal or whatever, and you can just delay that. As soon as that was finished, it was pretty obvious that a recording module could be made as well to use that to record whatever you put into it. And the recording module now has obviously a record and a play button, and the record and play buttons both have inputs next to them, so you can use a gate, for instance, to make the recording switch on and the play switch off or on at some point. When you do recording, there's an auto button, so it will go straight into the play mode, the loop mode. There's a merge button. There's a load and a save to load or save WAV files that you can work with. There's a length a knob that you can set from 0 actually up to 60 seconds for recording. So you have to set that at first. Then there's the speed, which is normally set at 1, so you have the normal standard speed setting, normal standard speed of any recording. So let's actually take the ARP thing in again. So again, I'll put the output into my external input of my VCO, and I'll take the gate output into this, and let's start it. So it's running through a major seventh chord in Ionian mode, and I'll dial it back a bit again. Take another waveform actually. And I'll take the output into my recording, and oh, sorry, that was my switch. That was not the normal recording. My bad. I'll take it into my input, and I'll put it into auto mode, and I have it set at 5 seconds at the moment. Switch my recording on. You see it's going through the loop, and as soon as it's done recording, it's going into the play mode. So I can actually switch this off and now take the input out, and take the VCO itself out, and just take my output and put that into here. So this is my actual recording that is made. I could, if I wanted to, just delete all of those, and that's still playing the recording. On that record module, there's a lot of knobs. Obviously, there's a speed, and you do hear a click at this point. You can try to get rid of that by using the cross Sometimes it's hard because of the levels, obviously, as in normal sampling. But actually, you can use an in point and an out point that you can change. So it means that if I dial those together, that it's only taking part of that loop that I was using at the moment. So that's one thing that you can do, and obviously you can change the speed of whatever you're doing. So let's dial it back. It's just going slower through that loop, still through that portion. And if I go the other way, because I can go across 0 and play it back, you can hear it coming back that way. On top of that, there's so that's the in point, the out point, and the cross fade. And above that, I've got a couple of filter settings. So there's a low pass setting, there's a high pass setting, and there's the Q factor. Actually, it says EQ. There's need to change that. This is a Q factor, so it means that you can actually have some sort of extra filter effect on top of that. And for the rest, there's a saturation, feedback, flutter, hiss, crackle level, and crackle frequency. That's because I wanted to have it a sort of effect that you would have from, say, a record, a normal album, or in 78, 45, or 33 RPM, or tape 1 or tape 2 effect, and the digital is the thing that you normally use. So if I would change it to 78, it'll have a lot of crackle effect in there, and hiss, and less quality. If you do it in 45, you have more frequency, but still hiss and crackle levels. 33, again, different settings. Tape has different effects, but no crackle, because that's not within a tape normally. And tape 2, less of that hiss and all that kind of effects. And digital, obviously, is as clean as possible. And as soon as you do any dialing here, you go into the free part. So if I just wanted a bit of that hiss, a lot of that crackle, but in a low frequency, I could do something like this. I could still have that running in the background all of the time while playing over it, of course. So, and the nicest effects in this is when you run this kind of thing through delay and reverb and stuff like this. So if I take my delay and, oops, that was a bit too fast. And if I take my reverb in there as well, switch my library off, take this into my delay. I only actually need one channel really, but if I would have stereo signal, which it's not, it's a mono record signal, I could put stereo into my delay and then go stereo out, but I can still go stereo out because I can make ping pong effects and that kind of stuff in here. So like this, and dial it up again. Something like this, and now switch off the delay and reverb. So that's pretty nice for all kinds of weird background effects. So let's, I'll take the arpeggiator out because I don't need that, but I need some pitch in here, I need a gate in here, and to get my output in there, and I'll put this into my delay as well. Now I can play obviously from any setting from the other. So something like this, and maybe put some LFO over this as well. So take the LFO into my frequency modulation of my VCO, and a bit less, of course. So something like this. And actually the recording can also be used by loading and saving stuff. So if I wanted to save this, just save and pick the folder that you want to put this in, and So it saved it, and I can actually load that in again if I look in the proper folder again. It's in there already, but say that I wanted something else. I've got something here which is actually part of it's only looking at all the speed stuff and things that it's doing now. So let's set the speed to 1, because actually this is the recording of a piece of poetry. So obviously, because it's I think I've only recorded a part of it, not the full 60 seconds. I could have done that, but still it's pretty nice, because if I change this and dial it backwards and that kind of stuff and take part of this, you can really change the way it sounds and how that works with whatever you do within your full patch that you're making. It really sounds very dark if you do it as slow as this. So yeah, or take for instance another kind of sample. Let's see. And obviously you can actually first of all record everything that you wanted in here, and I think this is something that I created at some point by using a load of VCOs and stuff, and wanted to have that as a background. So instead of keeping it like that within normal modules, I recorded it, saved it as a separate patch, so I can use the sound but still had less overload of my system. So as you can hopefully tell, I'm now modulating the speed by an LFO, so it's going both ways, forward, backward, through this recording. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that you could do with the record module as soon as it's available in the bundle. And both modules, both the ARP and the record module, will be added to your bundle if you already have it. And especially with the price being low up to the November 4th, it might be good to have a look at it. Anyway, that's the kind of thing that will be added to the bundle, and I hope you will enjoy that. And I'll talk to you later. So bye bye, cheers.